Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, one that looks ordinary, slightly worn, maybe a little dull from decades of circulation. You might toss it into a jar, drop it on a counter, or even walk past it on the sidewalk without giving it a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular 1979 Lincoln cent, yes, that tiny copper-colored coin, could be worth not just a few dollars, not even a few thousand, but an unbelievable $173 million. It sounds like one of those internet myths or exaggerated clickbait titles, but behind this story lies a fascinating mix of coin history, minting errors, collector obsession, and the mysterious journey of 1-cent coins that have become legends in the numismatic world. Today, we're diving deep into that world, and you'll see how a single coin minted in 1979 in Denver could change the way you look at pocket change forever. The year 1979 was an interesting time for American coinage. The United States Mint was producing billions of 1-cent coins every year, mostly in copper, though within just a few years, they would transition to zinc-based pennies. The 1979 Lincoln cent was minted at the Denver Mint, one of the main branches of the U.S. Mint system, and it carried the distinctive D Mint mark right below the date on the obverse, or front, of the coin. The D stands for Denver, Colorado, where these coins were struck in massive numbers, more than 4 billion pieces to be exact. At first glance, every one of those coins looks almost identical. But coin collectors know better. Among billions of ordinary coins, a few stand out for their unique minting errors, special conditions, or mysterious features that make them incredibly valuable. The Lincoln cent, featuring the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, is one of the most iconic coins in American history. The design has changed slightly over the decades, but the core image, Lincoln's profile facing right, with the word Liberty to his left and the date to his right, has remained remarkably consistent. On the reverse side, in 1979, the coin still carried the design introduced in 1959 by Frank Casparo, the Lincoln Memorial. That image, showing the grand neoclassical monument that honors the 16th president, includes tiny details that even reveal a miniature statue of Lincoln inside the memorial if you look closely enough. Above it are the words, United States of America, and the national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. Beneath the memorial sits the coin's denomination, 1 cent. Simple, elegant, and deeply American. Each 1979 D penny weighs about 3.11 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters, and is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. That composition gives the coin its characteristic reddish-brown tone when new, though most coins darken over time to a more brownish or dull copper color. The edges are smooth, unlike larger denominations such as dimes or quarters, which have reeded edges. Every small detail of this design was carefully crafted to create a coin that could withstand decades of circulation, and many of these pennies have indeed lasted more than 40 years, still showing up in people's pockets and change jars today. But the 1979 D penny that became legendary wasn't just any ordinary coin. Somewhere in the minting process, something extraordinary happened. In some rare cases, the dies, the steel tools used to strike the design into metal blanks, can develop small errors, misalignments, or doubling effects. These are known as mint errors, and collectors go crazy for them. Some coins might show what's called die doubling, where the date, letters, or parts of the design appear slightly doubled due to a tiny shift during the striking process. Others might have off-center strikes, where the image is not perfectly aligned on the coin, or planchet errors, where the blank metal disc is imperfect before striking. Even a minor error can boost the coin's value from 1 cent to hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, imagine if one coin had a combination of factors: a perfect error, a rare minting anomaly, pristine condition, and a compelling story. That's where the myth of the $173 million 1979 D penny comes into play. Over the years, stories have circulated online and among collectors about a 1979 D Lincoln cent that supposedly sold or was valued at $173 million due to a one-of-a-kind minting error and perfect preservation. While the exact truth behind the claim is debated, no official auction record confirms such a sale. The idea captures the imagination of millions. It reminds people that something as small as a penny could potentially be worth more than entire estates or luxury cars if it's rare enough. And in the coin collecting world, rarity, condition, and story are everything. Let's talk about how coins like this could reach such astronomical values. When collectors or numismatists, the technical term for coin experts, evaluate a coin, they look at several critical factors. The first is mintage, or how many coins were originally produced. The 1979 D had a high mintage, over 4 billion, which makes it generally common. But rarity doesn't always come from low mintage alone. It can come from error types, die varieties, or conditions that survived untouched for decades. The second factor is condition, often measured using the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor, P1, to perfect mint state, MS70. A 1979 D penny in heavily circulated condition might only be worth its face value, but one that remains in a flawless, mint state condition, especially if it shows a unique variation, could sell for hundreds or thousands. The next factor is historical or market demand. Sometimes, a coin becomes desirable not because of its metal content, but because of its backstory. The Lincoln cent, for instance, has a cult following in the United States and beyond. It's the coin that marked the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth in 1909, and it replaced the Indian head penny design that came before it. Over time, this little copper coin became a symbol of American everyday life, a coin that every kid has touched, collected, or saved in a piggy bank. That emotional connection can drive collectors to pay huge sums for rare variants. The 1979 D penny's design carries all that history with it. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln was not just any random design. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person, a break from earlier traditions. Before 1909, American coins typically featured allegorical figures like Lady Liberty or symbolic designs. But President Theodore Roosevelt personally pushed for Lincoln's image to honor his 100th birthday. Brenner, a sculptor who admired Lincoln deeply, modeled the design after a photograph by Matthew Brady. His initials, VDB, appeared on the bottom of the reverse on the first issues of 1909, but were quickly removed after public criticism, only to return in a smaller form decades later on the obverse under Lincoln's shoulder. By 1979, the VD initials were still there, tiny, almost invisible to the naked eye, yet a proud signature of the artist. At the Denver Mint, where the 1979 D pennies were struck, massive presses churned out millions of coins per day. Each blank copper disc, known as a planchet, was fed between two dies under immense pressure, about 40 to 60 tons, imprinting the design in a fraction of a second. The D mint mark was hand-punched into the die before striking, which sometimes led to varieties where the mint mark was misaligned or even doubled. These small differences are what collectors seek out. A doubled D, a misplaced mint mark, or a faint ghost image of Lincoln from a die clash could all turn a 1-cent piece into something worth serious money. Now, about the supposed $173 million figure, many experts consider it exaggerated, perhaps even fictional. But there have been genuine cases of ordinary-looking pennies fetching unbelievable prices. For instance, the 1943 copper penny, accidentally struck in bronze when all pennies were supposed to be made of steel, has sold for over $1 million. Similarly, a 1955 double-die penny, showing clear doubling on Liberty and the date, is valued in the tens of thousands. These examples show that coins once worth a cent can indeed become life-changing treasures under the right circumstances. So, even if the 1979 $173 million story is more legend than fact, it reflects a very real truth. Coins can hold hidden fortunes. Another reason these coins captivate collectors is their connection to American history. The late 1970s were a time of change, economically, politically, and socially. Inflation was high, energy prices were rising, and the value of the US dollar was shifting. Yet the penny remained the smallest unit of currency, a symbol of resilience and continuity. That's why finding a rare 1979 penny feels like uncovering a time capsule. Each coin has survived through recessions, new technologies, and generations of people. Some have been dropped in parking lots, others saved in drawers, and a few preserved perfectly in mint sets or sealed rolls, untouched since the day they were made. Those untouched coins are the real treasures. Collectors often use magnifying glasses, digital microscopes, and detailed coin catalogs to study the tiniest features of coins, like the 1979 D. They look for things like die cracks, tiny raised lines on the surface caused by aging dies, or repunched mint marks, where the D was struck twice slightly off from the first punch. A coin with a strong, visible repunch might be worth several $100s in high grade. Others look for the so-called RPM, repunched mint mark, or BIE, varieties, the latter named for a small die crack that appears between the letters B and E in Liberty. Even a small flaw like that, if distinct and well documented, can turn a coin from pocket change into a collectible. And then there's the grading game, the system that decides whether your coin is merely good or truly extraordinary. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, assess coins for their condition and authenticity. A 1979 penny graded MS65 or higher, with perfect luster and sharp strike, might sell for a few $100s. One in MS67 or MS68, practically flawless under magnification, could push past $1,000. It's a steep climb, but those top grades are rare because most coins from circulation have scratches, nicks, or discoloration. The few survivors that remain pristine are the ones that collectors chase, and sometimes pay jaw-dropping sums for. The market for such coins fluctuates constantly. Prices rise and fall depending on collector demand, metal prices, and auction trends. In recent years, as social media and YouTube videos about rare pennies worth millions have exploded in popularity, public interest in old coins has surged. People have begun checking their change again, hoping to find the next big discovery. Some stumble upon coins worth real money. A 1969 double-die penny, for instance, can sell for over $50,000. So, when rumors spread about a 1979 penny worth $173 million, the excitement was inevitable. While experts caution against believing every viral claim, they agree that it's worth checking your coins carefully. You never know what you might have. For many, the story of the 1979 penny isn't just about money. It's about history, curiosity, and the thrill of the hunt. There's something magical about realizing that an everyday object can hold secrets from decades past. Every scratch, every shine, every detail tells a story. The Denver Mint's D symbol is like a signature of craftsmanship, a reminder that even in mass production, tiny variations can create uniqueness. That uniqueness is what collectors value most. Not the metal, not the weight, but the individuality of each coin. And speaking of weight, the technical specifications are important for identifying authenticity. A genuine 1979 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's significantly lighter, around 2.5 grams, it could be one of the later zinc planchets accidentally struck early, which would make it incredibly rare. The official transition from copper to copper-plated zinc happened in 1982, but mistakes have occurred in many years around transitions. Finding a 1979 penny struck on a zinc planchet, for instance, would be like finding a historical anomaly. That's the kind of discovery that could fetch thousands or even tens of thousands at auction.so. When people talk about the 1979 penny being worth millions, they're really touching on that dream, the dream that something forgotten, something so small, could turn out to be priceless. And in a sense, that dream isn't wrong. Because even if the specific $173 million story is exaggerated, the real-world examples of pennies selling for massive amounts are proof enough that coins can change lives. The mystery, the rarity, the hunt, all of it keeps the passion for coin collecting alive. As we dive deeper into the world of the 1979 Lincoln cent, it's important to remember that what gives a coin its extraordinary worth is never a single factor. It's a perfect storm of elements: the historical moment in which it was minted, the materials that formed it, the precision or imperfection of the dies, the handling it received from the mint workers, and finally, the luck of survival. Each coin has lived its own life, traveling from pocket to pocket, store to store, hand to hand, a witness to decades of American life. The coin that might now sit quietly in a dusty drawer once clinked against quarters in a vending machine in 1981, or rolled across a diner counter in 1989. That's part of the magic. Every cent is a time traveler carrying the imprint of a particular moment in time. When collectors talk about the 1979 they often start with the minting process itself. At the Denver Mint, copper blanks were fed into presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. The machinery was enormous, loud, and precise, but even precision has its limits. A slight vibration, a die rotation of just a fraction of a millimeter, a planchet that was too thin or too thick could create a minting variety. The U.S. Mint is famous for efficiency, but perfection on a billion-coin scale is impossible. That's where rare treasures are born. For the 1979 penny, the fascination lies in a handful of varieties discovered by sharp-eyed collectors who noticed something off: a doubled rim, a faint second mint mark, or even a subtle off-center strike that gave the portrait of Lincoln a ghostly aura. Each anomaly tells a story about the human element in an industrial process. Imagine being a coin inspector in 1979, your job to examine hundreds of freshly minted cents every hour. Under bright fluorescent lights, you scan the coins, searching for glaring defects. You pick up a coin, turn it under the light, see Lincoln's face shining back, the D mark glinting just beneath the date. To you, it's one more cent in an endless sea of copper. You toss it into the pile, never realizing that years later, that same coin might capture the attention of collectors worldwide, its minute flaw transforming it into a piece of history. The idea that a small imperfection could lead to unimaginable value is one of the reasons people fall in love with numismatics. The Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse also hides details that collectors obsess over. The lettering, the alignment of the steps, the spacing between the pillars, every part is examined under magnification. On some 1979 pennies, a phenomenon known as die deterioration doubling occurs. It gives the illusion of doubled lines or thicker lettering, especially on 1 cent or e pluribus unum. To the untrained eye, it looks like a flaw, but to experts, it's a signature of the die's aging process. Some collectors consider it common, others see beauty in the uniqueness of every strike. Either way, each penny becomes slightly different from the next, and that individuality fuels endless debate about what makes a coin truly rare, Over time, the copper composition of these coins also plays a role in their appearance and value. Pure copper reacts with the environment, oxidizing slowly, changing colors from bright red to reddish brown, and eventually to a deep chocolate tone. The grading industry even differentiates pennies by color: red, for those that retain their original copper glow; red-brown, for partial toning; and brown, for fully oxidized coins. The difference in color alone can shift the coin's price dramatically. A 1979 D penny graded MS66 red could be worth hundreds more than one in brown, even if both are otherwise identical. It's another example of how collectors value preservation almost as much as rarity. The mythic $173 million figure attached to the 1979 D cent often sparks curiosity about how coin values are determined in the first place. The truth is, value is created by perception, passion, and the stories we tell. A coin can fetch astronomical sums if it represents something unique, and if enough collectors compete to own it. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections have seen bidding wars erupt over small copper discs, sometimes lasting minutes, but resulting in life-changing sales. The excitement of such moments has made coin collecting not only a hobby, but an emotional experience. Every collector dreams of that lightning-in-a-bottle discovery, a coin that others overlooked, now revealed as priceless. Many stories that circulate online about rare pennies are exaggerations or misunderstandings, yet they often start from a kernel of truth. There have been 1979 D pennies sold for hundreds, and even thousands of dollars when in pristine condition. Some examples graded MS68 by PCGS have achieved remarkable prices due to their virtually flawless surfaces and perfect strike. That's not $173 million, of course, but it proves that even a common coin, when perfectly preserved, becomes a tiny work of art. The idea that one cent could hold such potential encourages millions of people to start looking through their change. It's a spark that connects curiosity, hope, and the thrill of possibility. If we zoom out, the story of the Lincoln cent mirrors the story of America itself. The coin was introduced at a time of optimism, survived wars, economic crashes, and the digital age. By 1979, it had already existed for 70 years, carrying with it decades of history. The portrait of Lincoln had become not just a face on a coin, but a cultural symbol of honesty, perseverance, and equality. That symbolic weight gives even the most ordinary penny a deeper meaning. When collectors hold a 1979 D coin, they're not just holding metal, they're holding a miniature monument to an American ideal. The Denver Mint, responsible for striking these coins, has its own long and storied past. Established in the early 20th century, it became one of the pillars of U.S. coin production. The D Mint mark is now famous among collectors. It has appeared on countless denominations, from nickels to half dollars. Each coin that bears it carries a trace of Colorado's industrial pride. In 1979, Denver's mint workers faced the challenge of meeting massive production quotas. Billions of blanks were fed into presses, and yet the quality control remained remarkably consistent. It's a testament to the precision of American minting technology that so few serious errors slipped through. But when they did, those errors became legends. The fascination with coin errors taps into a human love for the imperfect. We're drawn to anomalies, to the idea that something went slightly wrong in an otherwise perfect system. A doubled mint mark, a rotated die, a missing letter, all of these imperfections give a coin personality. For the 1979 D penny, there are known varieties where the mint mark appears slightly repunched, as if the engraver's tool struck twice. Under magnification, you can see a faint shadow behind the D, a ghost echo of the first impression. These small quirks can elevate a coin's value from a few cents to a few $100s, and in extreme cases, far more. collectors often talk about the emotional rush of finding such a coin. Picture the moment. A hobbyist sitting at a desk under a lamp, magnifier in hand, sorting through rolls of pennies from the bank. Hours pass, eyes scanning date after date, until suddenly, something catches the light just right. A tiny difference that sets one coin apart. The heart rate quickens, the coin is turned, examined, compared against reference guides. Could it be? The potential discovery of a rare variety transforms an ordinary evening into a moment of triumph. It's this thrill, this intersection of patience and luck, that keeps the world of coin collecting alive generation after generation. While the myth of a $173 million sale remains unverified, the underlying message is powerful. Hidden treasures exist. Every collector knows of coins once thought worthless that later proved to be rare. The 1974 aluminum cent, the 1943 copper cent, the 1969 double die, all examples of unexpected fortune. If a single 1979 coin were found with a unique minting anomaly, such as a double denomination strike or a transitional planchet error, it could easily become a headline-making discovery. Experts would study it, grade it, and debate its value. Bidding wars could erupt, and its price might skyrocket into the millions, not because of its metal content, but because it embodies something that can never be replicated. Behind every coin is craftsmanship. The dies used to strike the 1979 Lincoln cents were engraved with microscopic precision. Even though machines did most of the work, human oversight ensured the artistry stayed true to Brenner's original design. The tiny letters of "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date required exact depth and alignment to create sharp strikes. On well-preserved coins, you can still see the fine texture of Lincoln's hair, the contours of his cheek, the subtle folds of his coat. Under magnification, these details reveal the artistry hidden in plain sight. The fact that something so small carries such artistry is a reminder of the care that went into American minting during that era. Economically, the penny's value has always been paradoxical. In 1979, the cost of producing a copper cent was rising as copper prices climbed. Ironically, by the early 1980s, the metal in a penny was worth almost as much as the coin's face value. This economic pressure eventually led the mint to switch to a cheaper composition, zinc coated with copper. That transition makes earlier copper cents, including the 1979 more desirable to collectors. They represent the last era of real copper, pennies, a final chapter before cost efficiency replaced tradition. To hold one is to hold a piece of that transition, a relic of a time when coins were still made of the metal they represented. The fascination extends beyond the US too. Worldwide, coin collectors, or numismatists, admire the Lincoln cent as one of the longest-running coin designs in history. People in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East trade, collect, and study these pennies, often fascinated by the symbolism of Lincoln's image. A 1979 penny found in an overseas collection might have traveled thousands of miles, carried in pockets of soldiers, tourists, or immigrants, bridging continents in silence. Each coin becomes a traveler, an unspoken witness to human movement across decades. Over time, stories of miraculous discoveries have continued to circulate. Someone claims to have found a flawless 1979 penny in a forgotten coin jar. Another finds one sealed in an old mint set. They send it for grading, and when the results return, MS67 red, a near-perfect gem, its market value jumps exponentially. Collectors flock to online forums to debate, compare photos, and share stories. The community around these coins is global and passionate. Even if the $173 million figure is mythic, the energy it generates is very real. It fuels curiosity, encourages learning, and keeps history alive. What makes coins like this timeless is that they carry both tangible and emotional value. They're small enough to fit in your palm yet rich enough and meaning to fill libraries with study and speculation. When people say a 1979 penny could be worth millions, what they're really saying is that we still believe in hidden miracles, in the possibility that something overlooked could hold extraordinary worth. That belief, more than any market price, is what keeps the legend alive. When you think about it, the journey of a single 1979 Lincoln cent from the moment it was struck until today is a miniature chronicle of time itself. Each coin began as a simple blank disc of copper alloy, waiting to receive the image of Abraham Lincoln that would transform it into currency. In the minting room, sheets of metal were rolled to precise thickness, punched into circular blanks called planchets, and polished for striking. Machines fed these planchets into the coin presses where immense force, sometimes over 50 tons, pressed the design into both sides simultaneously. Within a fraction of a second, another penny was born. But the difference between an ordinary coin and a future treasure can happen in that tiny sliver of time. A slightly misaligned die, a speck of grease in the wrong place, or an overused striking tool can create a feature no one intended, a microscopic deviation that will one day make a collector's heart skip a beat. The Denver Mint, where the 1979 pennies were produced, was a marvel of industrial precision. The rhythmic sound of presses echoed through the minting floor, a metallic symphony of American production. Coins rolled out by the millions, yet every single one was, in a way, unique. Even when two coins look identical to the naked eye, under magnification you can spot minute differences, tiny scratches on the die, slight variations in strike pressure, or micro differences in the lettering. That individuality gives each penny its fingerprint. Over decades, those differences become even more pronounced as wear, oxidation, and handling leave their marks. The myth of the 1979 penny worth $173 million may seem impossible, but it reflects a truth about how people perceive rarity and value. Humans are drawn to stories of discovery, the idea that a forgotten object could suddenly become priceless. In 1996, for instance, a man found a rare 1943 copper penny in his lunch change, and it sold years later for over $1 million. That story spread everywhere, inspiring millions to start checking their coins. So when people hear about a 1979 coin allegedly worth hundreds of millions, they imagine that the same kind of miracle could be waiting for them. The truth might not match the legend, but the dream fuels curiosity, and curiosity fuels the collector's world. What gives coins their power is not just their metallic composition, but the cultural and emotional value attached to them. The Lincoln penny in particular carries enormous sentimental weight. Since 1909, it has represented a bridge between history and daily life. Generations have grown up with Lincoln's calm, dignified profile staring back at them from lunch counters, piggy banks, and vending machines. The penny has bought candy for children, paid bus fares, and been tossed into fountains for wishes. Its everyday presence gives it a kind of quiet authority. Even as inflation eroded its purchasing power, the penny endured. By 1979, many economists were already calling for its retirement, but sentiment kept it alive. The Lincoln cent became more than money. It became memory cast in metal. For coin experts, studying a penny like the 1979 is both art and science. Metallurgy plays a key role. A 1979 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a combination chosen for durability and appearance. Copper gives it that rich red color, while zinc strengthens the alloy. Under extreme magnification, the surface of the coin reveals crystalline patterns, microscopic landscapes formed as molten metal cooled and solidified. These patterns interact with light, creating the luster collectors admire so much. A well-struck, freshly minted coin shines with radial cartwheel luster, reflecting light like spokes of a wheel. Over time, oxidation dulls this brilliance, which is why uncirculated coins are prized. The glow of untouched copper is like sunlight frozen in time. But coins don't just age physically, they also evolve in the marketplace. The value of a 1979 D penny in the numismatic world depends heavily on grading. Professional grading services assess coins under controlled lighting and magnification. They judge strike sharpness, surface preservation, luster, and eye appeal. Every tiny scratch or discoloration can lower the grade. On the Sheldon scale, an MS-70 is perfection, a coin with no post-mint imperfections visible even under magnification. Few coins ever achieve this. An MS-68 1979 D is already considered extraordinary. These grades are encapsulated in protective holders, with serial numbers and barcodes that link to online databases. A coin's grade can literally make or break its value. The difference between MS-65 and MS-68 can mean hundreds or thousands of dollars. The grading process itself is fascinating. Trained experts tilt each coin under multiple light sources to reveal hidden hairlines or microabrasions. They measure strike quality, how deeply the design was impressed into the metal. A weak strike might leave the steps of the Lincoln Memorial less defined, while a strong strike makes every detail crisp. They also check for mint luster, the soft radiance that only untouched coins possess. Once graded, the coin is sealed in a clear plastic case called a slab. This not only preserves it but also turns it into a miniature time capsule, safe from the elements. Collectors value these slabs because they give authenticity and market credibility to the coin. Beyond technical grading lies psychology. The market for rare coins is driven by emotion as much as logic. Collectors are storytellers. When they buy a coin, they're buying a narrative, a connection to history, a symbol of perseverance, a touch of beauty in something mundane. A 1979 D penny might cost only a cent to produce, but if it captures the imagination of collectors through a unique feature or perfect condition, its price can skyrocket. That's why myths like the $173 million coin survive. They express a universal truth. We crave the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. Every collector, deep down, believes there might be another undiscovered masterpiece out there. The market also reflects cycles of discovery. Every decade brings new technologies that allow for closer examination of coins. High-resolution scanners, digital microscopes, and AI-based image recognition tools now help collectors identify minted die varieties that were once invisible. A slight doubling of the date, a tiny die chip on the rim, or even a subtle texture difference in Lincoln's hair can be cataloged and shared instantly online. Communities of coin enthusiasts across Reddit, YouTube, and Facebook groups analyze and debate discoveries daily. It's a modern treasure hunt conducted through screens, magnifiers, and passion. The 1979 D penny sits at the heart of this culture, a coin common enough to be found but mysterious enough to still surprise. The economic value of copper itself adds another layer. Copper prices have fluctuated dramatically since the 1970s. There have been moments when the metal content of a single pre-1982 penny was worth nearly 2 cents. While melting pennies for profit is illegal in the United States, the idea that your jar of old coins could be worth more in raw metal than face value creates another level of fascination. The 1979 D penny, being solid copper, represents that older era of intrinsic value. When you hold it, you're literally holding metal mined decades ago, a resource that has outlasted political changes, economic shifts, and generations of owners. In terms of documented sales, high-grade 1979 D pennies have fetched impressive sums. In major auctions, examples graded MS-68 red by PCGS have reached into the thousands, especially when paired with exceptional eye appeal. Coins with unique mint errors have done even better. Off-center strikes, die breaks, and double mint mark varieties have all been recorded. Some of these coins may sell for what seems like pocket change, $20, $50, or $100, but others, with spectacular errors, climb to 5 figures. The real value comes from documentation. If a 1979 penny were found with a dramatic, one-of-a-kind error never before seen, its auction price could indeed break records. History shows that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary prices for uniqueness. Part of what makes this story timeless is that the penny itself is disappearing. The U.S. government has debated discontinuing the cent for years, as production costs exceed its face value. In countries like Canada, the penny has already vanished. That inevitability adds urgency to collecting. The day the penny is finally retired, every 1979 coin will become not just old currency, but a relic of a bygone era. Its sentimental and historical value will only rise. People will look back at these small copper coins as tokens of the 20th century's everyday life, humble, durable, and filled with character. Imagine a 1979 penny worth $173 million might sound like fantasy, yet it symbolizes something deeper, the idea that history hides treasures in plain sight. The real worth of a coin like this lies not only in metal or market, but in mystery. Somewhere out there, in an attic, an old safe, or a forgotten bank roll, could sit a penny struck just a little differently, preserved perfectly by accident. If discovered, authenticated, and sold, its value would explode overnight. The collector community lives for moments like that, moments when history literally changes hands. The Lincoln Cent's enduring design reinforces that hope. Victor David Brenner's portrait, inspired by a photograph of Lincoln taken by Matthew Brady, has survived more than a century because it captures the quiet dignity of a man who changed history. Even the smallest coin bearing his image seems to carry some of that gravity. The reverse, depicting the Lincoln Memorial, was chosen to echo the front, Lincoln facing his own monument, a full-circle tribute. That symbolic harmony makes even a simple penny feel profound. Every time light reflects off its surface, it reminds us that value is not always measured in dollars. Collectors often say that coins choose their owners. The idea may sound romantic, but it's true that extraordinary finds seem to appear when least expected. Someone empties an old piggy bank, sorts through change, and stumbles upon something rare. A hobbyist buys a roll of pennies from a bank, opens it under a lamp, and there it is, a flawless 1979 gleaming like new, untouched since the day it left the press. The thrill of discovery never fades, because it's about more than money. It's about connection to the past. Each coin you find connects you to millions of lives, millions of transactions, millions of tiny human moments stretching back through time. And perhaps that's what makes the story of the 1979 coin so powerful. It embodies everything that fascinates us about hidden wealth and forgotten beauty. Whether or not a $173 million penny truly exists doesn't matter as much as what it represents: hope, curiosity, and the enduring human love for stories. Coins are small storytellers, and each one whispers a piece of the past. When you hold a 1979 penny, you're holding not just copper and zinc, but a fragment of America's memory, a token of craftsmanship, and a spark of endless possibility. Every coin collector, whether a beginner or a seasoned expert, eventually learns that coins are like mirrors of the societies that create them. They reflect politics, technology, art, and even emotion. The 1979 Lincoln cent is a perfect case study in that idea. It was born during a time of uncertainty in America, a decade that carried the echoes of inflation, oil crisis, and social change. And yet, this small piece of copper represented continuity, the reassuring presence of something familiar in everyone's pocket. That continuity gave people comfort. The penny was still Lincoln, still copper, still small enough to lose under couch cushions, but meaningful enough to save in jars. When collectors look at the 1979 coin today, they see more than a cent. They see an artifact of resilience, a link between generations of hands that touch the same design. Over the years, the search for valuable pennies has become almost a cultural ritual. Parents tell their kids to check their change, teachers use coins to teach history, and treasure hunters across the world watch videos hoping to spot the next $1 million find. The legend of the 1979 penny worth $173 million thrives because it embodies that dream of finding unimaginable fortune in the smallest place. It doesn't matter that no verified auction has ever reached that figure. What matters is the inspiration it provides. It pushes people to look closer, to pay attention, to wonder. That act of looking closely is what coin collecting has always been about: attention to detail, patience, and love for hidden craftsmanship. The world of rare coins has its own economy, its own heartbeat. Values rise and fall not just with metal prices, but with human emotion. When a coin suddenly becomes famous online, interest spikes. Collectors rush to find examples, sellers list them, prices surge. Then, over time, the frenzy settles, and the true long-term value stabilizes based on rarity and condition. The 1979 penny sits in that delicate balance, common enough to be found anywhere, yet with just enough mystery to keep collectors intrigued. It's a coin that could be in your drawer, your car's cup holder, or the change you got at a gas station. That accessibility gives it a kind of democratic magic. Anyone, anywhere, might be the next to find something extraordinary. One of the reasons coins like this can command astonishing prices is the concept of provenance, the documented history of a specific coin. If a 1979 cent were discovered in flawless mint state with a unique, undeniable minting error, and if that coin were traced through authentication, professional grading, and auction sale, its story alone could multiply its value many times over. Collectors are storytellers, and provenance gives them a story to own. Imagine a coin that left the Denver Mint unnoticed, spent decades hidden in a sealed bankroll, then emerged spotless, shimmering red as if frozen in 1979. That image, combined with expert certification, could transform an ordinary penny into a global sensation. History, rarity, and narrative, together they can elevate any artifact to mythic status. Beyond the romance, the study of the 1979 penny reveals the technical evolution of minting. The late 1970s marked a turning point where automation and human craftsmanship intersected. Dies were prepared with greater precision than ever, but many steps still required manual labor. The mint marks, for instance, were hand-punched into the dies, which explains why repunched or misplaced mint marks appear. Under a microscope, a true repunched D shows a ghost image of the earlier strike slightly offset beneath or beside the main one. For specialists, finding a strong repunched mint mark from 1979 is like discovering a fingerprint from the engraver's hand. It connects the modern collector directly to the craftsman who worked at the Denver Mint more than 4 decades ago. As coins move through time, they interact with the environment in subtle ways. The copper surface develops patina, thin layers of oxide that shift color from bright red to deep brown, sometimes even rainbow hues. Collectors call this toning, and when it happens naturally and beautifully, it can enhance value. A 1979 penny with iridescent toning that glows blue, violet, or gold under light is a visual masterpiece. Such coins are often preserved in albums or original mint packaging where temperature and humidity created perfect conditions for slow, even oxidation. The resulting colors turn simple metal into art. Under camera lights, these coins shimmer like jewels, and in auctions, they ignite bidding wars because each one is literally unique, nature's signature on man-made design. There's also a philosophical dimension to why people chase rare coins. It's about control over history. In a world where most things are disposable and digital, coins offer permanence. They outlive trends, they hold weight, and they connect you to something physical. The 1979 D penny has lived through generations of economic shifts, from cash-based economies to digital payments, and yet it still exists, unchanged. That endurance makes collectors feel like guardians of memory. When you save a coin, you save a fragment of civilization. Every preserved 1979 D in a collector's album is a small defiance against forgetfulness. The global coin market recognizes this emotional value. Dealers track coins like art investors track paintings. Auction catalogs describe surface texture, strike strength, and color with poetic precision. Words like radiant, lustrous, and pristine are used because these coins truly inspire aesthetic awe. A high-grade 1979 D penny viewed under light can look almost liquid, its surface reflecting shades of copper and crimson. In a dark room, a beam of light sliding across it can feel like sunrise on metal. That visual allure is part of what draws people into the hobby, the realization that beauty can hide in the smallest object imaginable. Collectors often discuss the economics of rarity through supply and demand. There may be billions of 1979 D cents, but only a handful survive in perfect condition. The majority were tossed into circulation, scraped, banged, and worn down. Over decades, coins get lost, melted, or damaged. The survivors that remain sharp, bright, and unblemished become exponentially rarer every year. It's the same principle that makes antique cars, stamps, or baseball cards valuable: condition scarcity. The further time moves, the more precious well-preserved examples become. That's why serious collectors protect their coins in inert holders, away from moisture, air, and fingerprints. Each preserved penny becomes an investment in both metal and memory. The mythic $173 million story may be exaggerated, but its cultural reach is undeniable. On social media, millions of people have searched their change because of it. YouTube channels analyze every year of Lincoln Cent, showing close-ups of mint marks, double dies, and small varieties. These videos turn education into adventure. They teach people to see details: the faint line under the date, the curve of the 9, the shadow beneath the D. Viewers become detectives, learning history through magnification. The 1979 D penny becomes a teacher disguised as a coin. And in a way, that makes it priceless already. Within the world of professional numismatics, discussions continue about transitional planchets, coins struck on metal blanks intended for other years or denominations. The 1979 D is theoretically old enough that a transitional strike could exist, perhaps on an experimental zinc planchet or even a foreign blank. Such discoveries, while rare, are the holy grail of collecting. If one ever surfaced, authenticated beyond doubt, it could command staggering sums. It would rewrite the production history of the Denver Mint and become one of the most studied coins of the century. That's why experts still examine every strange-colored or lightweight 1979 D that appears. The chance, however small, keeps the hunt alive. There's also the human side, the collectors themselves. Some start young, fascinated by the shimmer of copper in sunlight. Others begin later in life, looking for connection or quiet purpose. For many, coin collecting offers peace. Sorting through rolls of pennies is meditative. It slows the world down. The soft clink of coins becomes a rhythm, and each discovery, no matter how small, sparks joy. The 1979 D penny serves as a gateway. It's accessible, inexpensive, but rich with stories. People who start by searching for one rare 1979 D often end up learning the entire history of U.S. coinage, from Indian head cents to modern zinc issues. It's not just about money, it's about learning to see. The marketplace that surrounds these coins is vast. Dealers, online auctions, grading companies, and private collectors form a global network. Coin shows draw thousands of enthusiasts who carry magnifiers in their pockets and knowledge in their eyes. At such gatherings, a single 1979 penny in top grade can draw attention from across the room. Conversations unfold about die states, strike quality, and color preservation. Deals are struck, sometimes quietly, sometimes with applause. Coins pass from hand to hand, and with each exchange, their stories grow longer. A coin that once bought a newspaper may now buy a car, not because the metal changed, but because human fascination did. Time also changes perception. Decades from now, when cash becomes purely historical, the 1979 penny will represent more than currency. It will symbolize an era of touchable money. Museums will display it as an example of 20th century design and industrial skill. Future generations will marvel that something so small could carry so much history. The copper glow will stand as a reminder of craftsmanship before digital dominance, of a world where people valued physical detail. And perhaps, in that future, when someone hears that a 1979 penny once sold for millions, they won't be surprised. Because by then, rarity and nostalgia will have merged into one dot. When collectors talk late at night, they sometimes admit that the real reason they love coins is the hope of immortality. A coin lasts longer than any of us. To own one, to care for it, is to participate in time's endurance. The 1979 penny, simple and unassuming, becomes a vessel of that hope. It tells us that even the smallest thing can endure for centuries if cherished. That's the unspoken truth behind every legendary coin. Not just wealth, but permanence. Money is supposed to circulate, to vanish, yet somehow, a few pieces escape that fate and become symbols of eternity. So the next time someone holds a penny and wonders if it might be worth a fortune, they're really asking a deeper question. What gives something value? Is it rarity, beauty, age, or story? The 1979 Lincoln Cent contains a bit of each. It's common and rare, ordinary and extraordinary, worthless and priceless all at once. Its legend, the rumor of a $173 million discovery, isn't just about cash. It's about the human desire to believe that miracles hide in plain sight. Maybe that's why, even after all these years, people still bend down to pick up a penny from the ground. Not for the value stamped on it, but for the possibility it represents. In the world of collecting, there is a quiet truth that every serious numismatist eventually understands. A coin's true value is measured not only in dollars, but in meaning. The 1979 penny, despite being one of the most common coins minted in modern America, continues to defy expectations. Its story has become almost mythological, woven through YouTube videos, coin forums, and documentaries. The rumors of a penny worth $173 million have turned it into a digital legend. And even if that figure exists more in imagination than in recorded auctions, the fascination surrounding it has become an undeniable reality. For millions of people, that tiny coin has reignited curiosity about history, about craftsmanship, and about the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. To understand the depth of this fascination, one must look beyond the coin itself and into the forces that shape its perceived worth. The copper used in the 1979 penny, for instance, carries its own story. In that era, the U.S. Mint still used the classic 95% copper and 5% zinc composition that had defined the Lincoln Cent since 1909. Copper, a metal symbolic of energy and conductivity, has always been a material of civilization. From ancient tools to modern wiring, copper has carried both electricity and economy through the veins of human progress. When you hold a 1979 penny, you are holding a fragment of that same story, a substance mined from the earth, smelted, purified, and shaped into something that could travel through a billion hands and still survive. By the early 1980s, however, the rising price of copper forced the U.S. Mint to make a drastic change. In 1982, the penny's composition was shifted to copper-plated zinc, a cheaper, lighter, and less durable substitute. That decision forever divided the timeline of American coinage. The 1979 D thus stands on the threshold of that transformation, one of the last true copper cents before the era of zinc dominance. For collectors, that fact alone gives it historical significance. The feel of real copper in the hand, its weight, its warmth, its faint metallic scent, connects directly to an older America, when coins felt substantial, when money had presence. That physicality makes the 1979 D penny an artifact of authenticity in a world increasingly built on digital numbers. Weight is one of the most measurable ways to distinguish authenticity and composition. The standard 1979 D cent should weigh about 3.11 grams, give or take minor variance. A genuine copper planchet feels solid, dense, and slightly heavier than its modern zinc counterpart, which averages only 2.5 grams. Coin experts often use high-precision scales to detect any deviation, because even a small difference might reveal an anomaly, an experimental strike, a foreign blank, or a minting error. A penny struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps one net for a dime or a foreign coin, can be worth thousands. These physical facts transform simple observation into scientific investigation, blending metallurgy with mystery. In design, the 1979 D penny remained faithful to Victor David Brenner's original 1909 portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design so iconic it has endured for over a century. Lincoln's gaze, stern yet compassionate, is framed by the word liberty on his left and the date 1979 on his right, the small D mint mark nestled just below it. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands proud, its pillars engraved in delicate precision, each line symbolizing structure and unity. Beneath it, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, whispers the very idea that defines the nation. This simple design has inspired generations, its beauty hidden in its restraint. On a microscopic level, each letter carries texture, each ridge a testament to mechanical artistry. The Denver Mint's craftsmanship ensured that even billions of strikes retained remarkable clarity. But even the most perfect design cannot escape the effects of time. Circulation wears coins down, edges soften, details fade, surfaces darken. Yet it's in this aging process that collectors find poetry. A worn 1979 D penny tells a different story than a mint-fresh one. It has traveled. It may have been part of a paycheck, a donation, a purchase, or a child's first savings. Every scratch is a memory. Every dull reflection is an echo of a moment that once mattered. The 1979 D, therefore, isn't just a piece of metal, it's a silent witness to the lives of millions. And when someone finds one in change today, the thought that it could be a hidden treasure, perhaps worth more than anyone imagines, adds a spark of wonder to an ordinary day. In the professional world of coin grading, the difference between an ordinary penny and a valuable one can be microscopic. Grading companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, use detailed standards to assign numerical grades from 1 to 70, with 70 representing absolute perfection, a coin so flawless that even under magnification, no marks or blemishes appear. A 1979 degraded MS-70, Mint State 70, could command hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on color and luster. Few examples exist at that level because most coins from circulation bear tiny imperfections. Yet it is the chase for perfection that drives collectors, the hope of finding that one untouched survivor in a sea of billions. The modern market for Lincoln cents is thriving online. Platforms like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections host thousands of listings every month. Prices fluctuate with grading trends and collector enthusiasm. While the mythical $173 million valuation belongs to viral legend, real-world data still shows remarkable results. Exceptional error coins, off-center strikes, double dies, and broad strikes can fetch anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s. A flawless deep red proof-like example may go for even more. These sales are documented, verified, and publicly traceable, adding layers of credibility and excitement to the hunt. The internet has democratized coin collecting. Now, anyone with a smartphone can discover history in their palm and share it with the world. But value is not static. It evolves with human emotion. During periods of economic uncertainty, tangible assets like coins and precious metals often gain renewed attention. Investors look for stability in objects that have survived centuries. Copper prices fluctuate on global markets, influenced by construction, technology, and manufacturing demand. When copper surges, collectors feel the ripple. The base metal in their coins becomes more precious. Yet the true worth of a 1979 deep penny cannot be melted down to raw material. Its value is historical, aesthetic, and cultural. It is worth what belief makes it worth. That's why, despite being only 1 cent by law, it can inspire stories of millions in imagined worth, because belief, like rarity, is powerful currency. The story of the 1979 deep penny also reveals something deeper about human psychology, our fascination with transformation. We are drawn to tales of hidden treasure, of something ordinary becoming extraordinary. The idea that a small coin could secretly be worth millions touches the dream of sudden discovery, the same impulse that drives explorers, inventors, and artists. It's not about greed, it's about hope. Each coin found, examined, or cherished keeps that hope alive. And sometimes, hope itself becomes more valuable than gold. Collectors often talk about the moment of discovery. It's that heartbeat when you realize you might be holding something rare. The light hits the surface just right. The mint mark looks slightly different. The details whisper possibilities. In that second, time slows. You imagine headlines, auctions, the excitement of revelation. Even if later research proves it to be a common coin, that feeling never fades. It's addictive, in the best way. The 1979 deep penny has created millions of those moments across the globe, making people pause and wonder. That universal pause, that shared breath of curiosity, is a kind of collective magic. Globally, coin markets reflect cultural values. In Europe, ancient Roman and Greek coins attract scholars. In Asia, dynastic coins represent empires and philosophy. In America, modern cents tell the story of industry and democracy. The Lincoln cent, especially, occupies a unique place because Abraham Lincoln himself symbolizes equality, endurance, and humanity. His portrait gives moral weight to the coin. Holding a 1979 deep penny feels like holding a small symbol of integrity. That emotional connection amplifies its appeal. Even when the metal is common, the meaning is rare. Some collectors believe that every coin has its own destiny, that certain coins are born to become famous. The 1979 D fits that myth perfectly. Its widespread availability means it can appear anywhere, waiting to surprise someone. Maybe one day, a newly discovered minting error or hidden variety will emerge, authenticated and celebrated, finally turning the legend of the multi-million-dollar penny into fact. Until then, the story remains alive precisely because it has not been resolved. The mystery is its own kind of wealth. The economic side of collecting also reflects this tension between reality and legend. Dealers build entire businesses around sourcing, authenticating, and marketing such coins. Educational content, museum exhibits, and online communities keep the dialogue going. Coin shows feature seminars where experts display slides of microscopic details. The shape of a mint mark, the spacing of digits, the curve of Lincoln's coat. Every nuance matters. A small die crack across the memorial or a faint doubling in the date can transform a penny's narrative. Collectors become detectives, scientists, and historians rolled into one. In broader terms, coins like the 1979 connect personal history to national history. They remind us of the human hands that made them, the workers at the Denver Mint, the engineers who designed the presses, the miners who extracted the copper. Each stage represents labor, intention, and artistry. Even the machines that struck billions of pennies in 1979 were products of human imagination. When you trace a coin's journey backward, you find entire networks of effort and creativity embedded in that tiny disk of metal. To hold, it is to hold the residue of an entire civilization's energy. As the 21st century progresses, physical coins are slowly disappearing from daily use. Digital transactions dominate, and many young people rarely handle cash at all. Yet precisely because of this disappearance, coins from the late 20th century are gaining new cultural importance. They represent the last tangible symbols of exchange, the era when money had weight and sound. Future generations will study them the way we study fossils or pottery shards. The 1979 penny, with its copper body and timeless design, will be one of those symbols. It will speak of an age when value was pressed into metal, when a nation's ideals were stamped into something you could hold. And perhaps that is why, even today, stories of million-dollar pennies continue to spread. They remind people that wonder still exists, that not everything rare must be hidden in museums. Sometimes it's right there in your hand, waiting to be noticed. The myth of the $173 million 1979 penny captures this perfectly. It's a symbol of modern mythology, a digital folklore born in an age of screens yet rooted in something ancient and tactile. It doesn't matter if the story is true in the financial sense. It's true in the emotional one. It keeps curiosity alive, and that, in itself, is priceless. Imagine, then, the closing scene of a documentary. The camera zooms slowly onto a single 1979 penny resting under soft light. The voiceover speaks not of greed, but of gratitude. Gratitude that something so small can carry so much history. The lens catches the glimmer of copper, the subtle shadow of the D below the date, and the worn yet enduring face of Lincoln. Music swells gently, evoking both nostalgia and hope. The narrator's voice fades into the echo of words that define every collector's dream. Every coin has a story, every pocket hides a possibility, and every discovery, no matter how small, connects us to something eternal. The screen fades to black, and a simple message appears: keep looking, keep learning, keep believing. Because even a single cent can be worth far more than money. It can be worth the imagination of millions. Every legend ends where it began, with a single coin, resting quietly, waiting to be noticed. The 1979 Lincoln cent has become more than a coin. It has become a symbol of patience, luck, and the mystery that lies in everyday life. Somewhere right now, in a forgotten jar or an old wallet, another 1979 waits, untouched by collectors, carrying 46 years of silent history. And the truth is, none of us know what hidden secrets still rest within its metal. Every time someone finds one and holds it up to the light, they join a centuries-old tradition, the search for meaning in small things. Real auction records reveal how fascination transforms into real-world value. Coins once dismissed as ordinary have shocked the market time and again. A 1943 copper Lincoln cent sold for over $1 million. A 1955 double-die penny fetched six figures. These sales prove that impossibility is just a matter of time. And so, when people dream of a 1979 penny selling for $173 million, it isn't naive fantasy. It's faith in history's unpredictability. Because in numismatics, miracles don't follow rules. They appear suddenly, quietly, from forgotten boxes and dusty safes. They remind us that discovery still exists. Among collectors, whispers often circulate about the perfect penny, a coin struck so sharply, preserved so purely, that it defies logic. If such a specimen of the 1979 ever appeared, gleaming red with flawless surfaces, perfectly centered strike, and microscopic perfection under magnification, it would command not only record prices, but international attention. Museums would compete, journalists would rush to report, and that one small coin would rewrite the boundaries of what the world believes a penny can be worth. And even if that day never comes, the dream continues to fuel the passion that keeps the hobby alive. The Denver Mint itself stands as a monument to American production. Behind its tall walls and humming presses, countless coins have been born, each one identical, yet each one unique. The 1979 issue rolled off those presses in enormous numbers, billions of small discs destined for pockets and registers across the nation. But perhaps, among those billions, a few were different. A few carried double impressions, or misaligned dies, or minute variations invisible to the naked eye. Those are the coins that collectors hunt for decades later, magnifiers in hand, hearts racing at every small glint of possibility. The history of the 1979 coin cannot be separated from the culture that surrounds it. It belongs to the end of a golden age, the last of the heavy copper era, minted before technology transformed everything. Each of these pennies is a time capsule from the late 1970s. Gas stations buzzing with the smell of fuel, jukeboxes playing vinyl hits, kids saving coins in glass jars for bubble gum and comic books. The copper in your hand may once have rattled in a denim pocket during those simpler days. That sense of connection to real people, to ordinary lives, is what makes coin collecting more human than any other hobby. Modern technology has also changed the way we understand coins. High-resolution scanners, microscopes, and digital grading platforms allow collectors to examine every curve and shadow of a coin in microscopic detail. Social media has turned private discoveries into viral sensations. A simple smartphone video showing a 1979 penny under a light can reach millions within hours. Some may chase views, others may chase truth, but together they create an ever-growing community of curiosity. What was once a niche passion has become a global dialogue, linking young and old, rich and poor, through the universal thrill of discovery. The economics of such a legend are fascinating. When a story about a coin's potential value spreads, it drives people to search. Search drives attention, attention drives demand, and demand drives prices. This is how myths create markets. The 1979 penny has thus become both a financial and cultural phenomenon, a piece of folklore that moves real money. Dealers report spikes in sales, grading companies receive floods of submissions, and online marketplaces see listing booms. Even those who know the $173 million story is exaggerated still participate, because hope itself is an investment. In that sense, every coin found, bought, or studied adds value to the legend. The deeper truth is that the worth of the 1979 penny is not measured in auctions or dollars, but in moments. The moment a child learns that the portrait on the coin is Abraham Lincoln, the man who changed the nation. The moment a collector spots a faint doubling under magnification and feels their heart skip. The moment a family sits around a table, sorting coins together, laughing and learning about history. These are the real treasures, the memories that outlast even the rarest coins. $1 million penny might change a life, but the act of searching changes the soul. Consider the copper itself. If melted, a 1979 penny's raw metal would barely be worth a few cents at today's copper rates. Yet shaped and stamped with history, it transcends material value entirely. It's proof that meaning transforms matter. A coin, like a story, becomes priceless only when someone believes in it. The story of the 1979 penny teaches this better than anything else. That belief can turn a cent into a symbol, that imagination can make the smallest object shine brighter than gold. Across the world, collectors continue their search. Some sort through thousands of coins late at night under desk lamps. Others visit coin shows with magnifiers and gloves, and others simply check their pockets each morning, hoping for a little miracle. The search is endless, but that's what makes it beautiful. Each discovery, no matter how small, feels personal. Somewhere, a young collector will one day find a stunning 1979 penny, red and lustrous, glowing like it was minted yesterday. And in that moment, they will understand why so many have fallen in love with coins. It's not about getting rich, it's about touching history. And even if no 1979 penny ever sells for $173 million, the legend itself has already achieved something more valuable. It has kept the spirit of curiosity alive in millions of hearts. It has made people look closer at the world around them. It has turned a forgotten piece of change into a symbol of endless potential. In that sense, the legend has already become truth. Because money fades, but wonder endures. As the narrative draws to a close, picture the final moments of your video. The camera pans across a table covered with coins, all gleaming softly under warm light. In the center, a single 1979 penny stands upright. The voiceover slows, softens, and speaks not about profit, but about perspective. It tells the viewer that the rarest treasures are not the ones we buy or sell, but the ones we notice. That history is hidden in plain sight. That greatness can exist in something as small as a cent. The final word should echo like a heartbeat, simple, reflective, unforgettable. Imagine this closing narration. In a world chasing gold and diamonds, a single penny reminds us that value begins with belief. The 1979 cent isn't just metal, it's a story, a memory, a miracle waiting in your hand. Maybe you'll never find the one worth millions, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe the true treasure is the moment you start looking. So keep that penny, keep that hope, because one day, when history looks back, it won't remember the price, it will remember the dream. And sometimes, a dream is worth more than $173 million. The screen fades to black. A single sound remains, the faint metallic ring of a penny landing on a wooden table. Then silence. That silence is the end of the story, and the beginning of countless others, each one starting with a simple 1979 penny.